Sometimes in other sports, like NFL, for example, sometimes the best player is the one that gets MVP, or it's the best player on the best team. So with that being said, Jayson Tatum right now is having a great year. 27 points per game, 9 rebounds, 5 assists, shooting 48% from the field. And the Celtics right now have not only the best record in the Eastern Conference, but the best record in the entire league, and are 4 games ahead of everyone in the entire league at 43 and 12. Do you guys think that, I know last week, we were kind of, Carl and I were kind of going back and forth who we think should be the midseason MVP. And he said Joker, and then I said Shea. But do you think, Jayson Tatum deserves to be MVP with everything? I know it's hard because, his team is also stacked, but what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, that last point was what I was going to say. I mean, ultimately, like, I think this is a situation a lot similar to like the Grizzlies from last year. Like when you looked at their split record between when Ja was in the lineup and when he wasn't. I feel like obviously the Celtics wouldn't be as good as they are without him, but they'd still win games. And I just feel like for me, like if I was a voter in MVP, value always comes down to just how much of like the win share do you have, and also just like how much is the weight of you on your team and your team's success. So for me, ultimately, no, I don't think he deserves it. And also, it just seems like the writers are going away from that typical narrative as they were in the early 2000s of the NBA.
What about you?
Yeah, I don't think. I think my top two would still be Shea and Jokic for right now. Embiid if he hadn't missed half the season already. But yeah, I think honestly there's a lot to what Terrence was saying and kind of what you were saying as well. Like it's it's easy to most of the time it's the best player on the best team you're gonna be top three top two MVP voting, but it does matter when you're on like a super team. And like the same way that Steph or KD were never gonna win MVP those same years they were playing together, that's kind of like it's not the exact same level of talent for sure, but it's easy to view like okay you also have Jaylen Brown, you have Kristaps Porzingis, you have Drew Holiday, you still have Al Horford, like
Got
they
that
have
nigga off. What's the name from?
Derek White,
Yeah, keep
Derek
forgetting.
White
Yeah.
exactly like your starting five is crazy. It's clearly the best starting five in the league. So when you put that next to guys like Shea, who's got his team to be the second or third seed, which is right below basically, and he's taking a bunch of 21-year-olds and doing it and averaging like 10 more points a game than anybody else on the team. That to me, like it brings more value. It makes you more valuable. That's really just what it comes down to. And the same with like Jokic. Like Jamal Murray's not an all-star. Michael Porter Jr. is definitely not an all-star. And then Aaron Gordon. Like there's a bunch of solid guys. Jamal Murray is very great in the playoffs, but the other guys are just all solid. And I still have us in a position because I'm going crazy. And that's also the thing. He has good stats, but honestly, for like what the stats are right now in the NBA, they're not like peak. Like it's a couple more guys averaging more points per game than him, more rebounds, more assists. So like, yeah, if this was 10 years ago, 27, 8-4 would be like, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But
Because did LeBron win his what years was he MVP with Miami Heat?
both of them.
Yeah.
His
Yeah,
first
years.
years?
Yeah. First 2 years.
How you feel about that?
What like based on like how?
When
based
D Wade
on-
was still
gotcha,
somewhat
gotcha,
D Wade,
gotcha.
and they had Chris Bosh and their team, the rest of the roster built up.
Yeah, I just think Braun at that time was just head and shoulders over anybody else in the league, though. Like I feel like that comparison is a little bit tougher, just because, yeah, he was head and shoulders. I feel like.
And I think I would compare that team more to these Nuggets.
Yeah.
Like D Wade, Jamal Murray at that stage of D Wade's career. Definitely think Chris Bosh is better like than their third option, but that was our first or technically second time seeing like a super team, but I don't think it was like some of the super teams we've seen since then are like, oh no, this is like you got all of these dudes in their prime and they're like all top 3 players. Like they weren't, especially Bosch was maybe a top. He was definitely a top 15. I wouldn't say he was a top 10 player at that time. And D Wade was definitely already towards the latter half of his career, like and just in terms of injuries and like his peak.
First year was crazy though.
That
motherfucker was stupid.
So yeah, I think it's just again like what he was saying. Like LeBron was just going insane that year too.
Go stupid. Yeah. Okay.
Good times. Good times.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see like how they're gonna determine who the MVP is. Are they gonna go with stats? Are they gonna go with true value when you take a player off the team? What are they really? The narrative. I'm curious to see because I feel like we kind of have an idea, but because of Joel Embiid's injury, it's kind of up in the air. So.
And that's the thing. This is the most up in the air I think it's been.
Mm-hmm. Plus, what we talked about last week, Carl, with the whole 65-game parameter, some players might be ineligible. So it's going to be interesting to see who's going to be the MVP. But I know we said this last week. You still on Joker number one?
Yeah, especially as long as they get their seed up a little bit.
Like, where do you think they would have to finish? Top 3, top 4?
Yeah, and I think they're 4 right now.
So just stay right there.
It's still close at the top, so I think they could easily get up there. But yeah, I feel like top 3 would, especially if you could get to like 2 or something, that would boost his case a lot.
Yeah, I think based on how Jokic is playing right now, I would give him the edge over Shea.
You give it to him? I think I'll still stick with Shea as well.
I'd love to see it go to him though. I'd love to see it go to Shea.
Yeah. And when do they normally give out awards for MVP?
We said
like not to the second round of the playoffs.
Yeah,
because I swear, like when Dirk won that shit.
No, it's at the end of the season, isn't it?
Well, didn't they just make that rule change?
Well, no, because Joel Embiid, remember he was with his team in the playoffs, and they had the little video conference on TNT, and then they gave him the award. So I think he was still in the second round.
Yeah, it was definitely during the playoffs.
Okay. They need to do that shit like right when the season's over, type shit. Yeah. I don't know. I just want to add element.